hello, y'all. Welcome to another great episode of Let's Talk. I'm so excited today. We're going to have a great show with some wonderful women here that's going to help us deal with traumas and getting over traumas and recognizing trauma. A lot of us don't recognize it. So
Yes.
we definitely going to have that. We'll go ahead and I'm going to do a formal introduction in a minute. But, like I always say that, this is another great episode. Let's talk. So what we're talking about, going to see in a second. Hold on. We'll be back. All right, we're back. We're back. We're back. We're back. All right, so I would like to start. I'll start here on my left side here on my screen. Is D. Marie Monroe. D. Marie Monroe is an advocate. She's a mother. She's an author. She's a speaker. She's what is she? What else? What else are you? Minister. She ministers as well. She
A servant of the community, most.
Yes, exactly. I'm gonna get to the last one in a second. And she's an advocate for homeless people. She feeds, she clothes, she does that on a regular basis in the Atlanta area. And as I'm gonna add now, she is running for commissioner, District 7, DeKalb County in Georgia. And elections is on Tuesday. So we want to go ahead and see that shirt. Move that hair, girl. Move that hair.
Yes.
Yes. So we're going to talk about that a little later on this evening, but I definitely want to put that out there because voting is on Tuesday. And we have on my right side here is Dr. Dawn. This is my girl right here. It's Philly born and bred.
Yes.
Got Philly in the house. She is a therapist and she's been doing her business for over 24 years. She trains in therapy. She's a trainer, a speaker, a professional expert with life experiences to deliver excellent service. And I'll get her to talk about a little bit about herself, but I want to welcome Dr. Dawn. So welcome. So as I always do when we get started, we talk and we pray. So we're going to go ahead and start the prayer and give me a second. Lord Heavenly Father, thank you once again for allowing us to be here this evening, to be able to be these vessels, as I always say, for us to be able to put nuggets in people, and hopefully everything that we talk about this evening will either help or soothe or have somebody recognize that they do have issues and need to get help. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. All right, so today's topic is trauma.
Yes.
Trauma. So I'm going to start with Dr. Dawn on that.
Yes.
Give us the definition of trauma.
Well, that's a big definition, but let me first start out.
Break it down.
Break it down. So let me start by saying I am so excited about being here tonight with my girl Regina and her girls Carla and Miss D. Marie. Congratulations on running. My prayers are with you, and I hope you win because you got such a sweet spirit. So the definition of trauma, I like to hone it down and make it real simple because it can get real complex and whatnot. But I say trauma is a deep emotional wound. Just a deep emotional wound. And that can come from physical, sexual abuse, domestic violence, witnessing any of the like, sex trafficking, something such as 911 that happened and was a travesty across the nation. What we know about the Buffalo shootings, hearing about the Buffalo shootings, slavery, if you are slavery, the generational effects of slavery. So it's so much that can encompass a deep emotional wound. But I also want to leave with that definition that it is relative, meaning that what may be traumatic to you may not be traumatic to me. Okay. Mm-hmm. So we both can experience a traumatic event, but we may not both walk away traumatized. Okay. So trauma is a deep emotional wound that is relative and subjective to that person.
You just hit something, Dr. Dawn. Trauma is different for everyone. And just because you experience trauma doesn't mean the other person is going to actually have the same experience of the trauma. Because somebody could just get shot and one person be like, hey, hey, that happens. Another person like, oh my God, I can't sleep at night. I keep seeing the gunshot. So we
Exactly.
can't just assume other people going to recognize your trauma as being
That's
their
right.
trauma.
That's
Good
right.
point. So Dee Marie had wrote a book, and I'm proud to say I helped her with the promotion of the book. Um, it's been over 10 years ago, more
10
than that.
Yeah, 2006 actually.
Yeah,
Okay.
2006, and she wrote a book about her experience, and I'm gonna let her talk about it. But one thing I was so proud of her, because like we were saying, Dr. Dorn earlier, a lot of people don't like talking about trauma, right? And for you to get to a point that you're open enough to say, look, I'm ready to tell the world my story, and not just tell it, details, major details, get you that you're at a point now. You're at a point that a lot of people don't get to in their
Yeah.
lives.
Yeah.
Transparency,
Yes.
Yeah.
right? So, Dee Maria, can you go? Let's kind of briefly tell us about the first book and some of the trauma you dealt with.
Yes. So I'm grateful. First of all, let me just say, Regina, you're an amazing host. I'm so grateful to be a part of this. That I'm honored that you would have take the opportunity to allow me to share, to put me on a platform with such an amazing Dr. Dawn. I am grateful to your staff, Carla. You guys totally rock, and just keep doing this. Keep having these conversations. But now this conversation is a little bit more closer to home than most, because I myself was a victim of a trauma. And it was a trauma that, had I not, first of all, given my life to God to just restore me, there is no way I would have recovered, because it was just, it was a compacted trauma. So it was like a trauma on top of a trauma on top of a trauma. And just to, is, if I can make it as brief as possible, at 2 years old, I was ripped from the arms of my mother, my biological mother, and I was placed into foster care. That should have protected me, because that was the goal. However, I was then molested by the people that they put me in the home of. And that was a continual trauma. I actually left that home because of a tremendous illness that they burnt me on my bottom, and it caused me to have to go into the hospital for a month and get a skin graft. And that yanked me out of that home just to move me over to another. So it was like this continual thing. And they even tried the intervention of trying to replace me back into my mother's home, just kind of like a trial and error thing to just see if it would work. Of course, I became a victim of her boyfriends and things of that nature, where I was raped. And so it was just a continual thing. And so after a while, I began to just be stuck in myself. You can get stuck in your own skin. You can get stuck at 2 years old, 5 years old, 10 years old, wherever the trauma happened, and just never recover from that. And we have people walking around, they're 40 and 50 and 60, and they're stuck at 10 or 20 when the trauma happened. Yes. And it is so challenging because here's the thing, culturally, we're told to shut up.
Yes.
Not say a word. Get over it. You'll be all right. Everybody deal with that, baby. Just sit down and be quiet. And we've got to get to a place where it's no longer a rite of passage that we're touched and we're molested and we're raped and we're abused and we're getting stuck in a place of oppression and depression because of the injury, because we've not healed the wound. Even when you have this modern day time, if you have a trauma, you go to the ER to be either resuscitated or to be recovered. We never go into that place of recovery when we have those types of trauma, because there's a stigma behind it. Like, well, that must have been you, or that was your fault, or something you did. And that's absolutely a myth. Absolutely a myth. And so as I journey through life, after even getting to a place in myself of low self-esteem where I tried to commit suicide, and I got past that because of God, and I woke up and I became the woman that I am today. And it was a slow process. It was a process, you guys. Sometimes we don't want to go through the process, the hard process of the recovery. And I got to a place where I said, no more will I be stuck in chains and stuck in bondage of what happened to me yesterday and the years before and when I was born and those identities that other people placed upon me. I got into a place of understanding who I was as a person, who I was as a woman, who I became as a mother and a wife and a friend, as a leader. And is no place like the other side of trauma. And I even wrote a book about it. It's no place like it, but it is a process, and you have to seek help, seek the professionals like Dr. Don, have the conversations, go deep diving, because that's the only way you're going to get to the root of the problem. Sometimes we do patchwork. Oh, well, I'll just drink it away, or I'll just pretend it's not there, or I'll just do other things that'll mask the pain, and it never goes away if you don't deal with it.
Amen.
No,
I
it
love
does
that.
not. Man, you touched so much.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go back to like the Black community and trauma. And I know Dr. Dawn, she talks about this too. So we're gonna get to you in a second. But one thing I know in our families that we are known to do is keep your stuff in your house. Don't talk about things outside your house, right? So when you get to a point when you're taught that and it's embedded in your family, embedded in, and then you think you say something, something's going to happen to you, right? Something's going to happen. But when you really think about it, hindsight 2020, it can't be worse than what's happening to you.
That's right. That's right.
You don't think it that way, right? You think it's like, oh, it's going to be horrible. Like, how can it be horrible than this? But we are so trained to not talk outside of our house, and we so busy trying to protect the person who's doing us wrong.
That's right.
That makes sense? That makes sense?
So but that's part of the trauma. That's part of the trauma structure, though. That is not isolated to the Black community, though. We do have an extra layer of protection because of the slavery piece, the residual slavery. So, like within our community, we have this thing about we don't want to let each other down. We don't want to betray our brother and sister, because that whole let's stick together because of the slavery bonds, right? So we do have that additional layer, but within trauma, the power of trauma is the secret. So that's part of the trauma hold, is the secrecy. So that whole protecting the abuser comes along with trauma, regardless of the culture. But we have that additional layer as a Black and brown person, as African Americans, Latinos, Hispanics. We have that additional layer of protection because of the residuals of slavery.
So is it more or less, let's say, we want to protect each other. So we feel that if we go on top of the trauma, right? Yep. So let's say we want to tell, but we know we're going to tell it's going to be somebody outside of our race. And then you scared that they're going to get like, oh, I can't tell a Caucasian person because if I do that, they're going to get all of us down. Like they're going to just, add on things.
I don't want to like, so majority of our perpetrators, unfortunately, are men, right? So if it's a Black male that perpetrated against us, we don't want to, again, betray our Black men. That's the extra layer. So like, let's just say we weren't Black. If we were telling, that's part of trauma. Part of trauma is protect your abuser. That's part of the trauma structure for the most part. But then on top of it, if I'm a Black woman, I have this thing that I have to protect our Black males as well, as part of the Black code. You sold out on top of it. So yes, it is really, it is. And that's the research. Everything that DeMarie touched upon, like you did say so much, and so eloquently, might I add. I just love how you talk, girl. You this is beautiful. I said she could sell me anything. If I was living down there, I'd be like, click them. I digress, but it was beautiful. But,
I love you already.
You said so much, and you spoke to so many pieces of the literature and so many pieces of the research. Like one of the things that stood out, everything stood out, but one of the things that I really wanted to point out is when you were talking about being stuck. So the literature, the research, and personal experience speaks to that whenever we are being traumatized, our brain stops growing. So if we start being traumatized at the age of 6, our brain literally stops growing until the trauma ends. So let's say we're traumatized from 6 to 12. Our brain will not start growing again until we're 12. So at 12, my body now has experienced adult stuff. So my body may think I am 18 because I'm having these grown-up experiences. So then you start to have this overproduction in many people. Now, not everyone, but a lot of people, they start to have this overproduction of hormones. So this is why you see the 12-year-old with the increased breast or hips, because the body is preparing for childbirth, but I'm only 12. So I have this I'm 12 with an 18-year-old body, but my brain is not even 6. It may even be 4 now because it regressed to cope with the trauma. So I have a 4 to 6-year-old brain with an 18-year-old body in sexual cravings of that age, because now I've been exposed to sex, and the body naturally, once it's exposed to sex, will crave sex naturally. It's not about being fast or hot. It's just the way our bodies are designed. And so here you have this child with this dilemma.
Wow. Wait, I gotta wait.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Okay, so
That's a lot.
when you deal with trauma, your brain stops at that age of the trauma unless you get healed.
Unless you have buffering. Yes.
Unless you get healed. So then, if you are again molested, let's say in an early age, your body automatically goes, okay, you must be ready for childbirth. So I'm going to develop you even a little faster because you're already doing the thing that you need to do to have a child.
And I have to get you prepared. I have to get you prepared to push this baby out. That's how come you see a lot of children that's been sexually abused, bodies physically are more mature, right? Because their body is kind of thinking like, oh, wait, I thought we were 12, but no, we must be older. So we're about to have these babies. I got to get ready. I have to get the hips ready to push the baby out. I have to get the breast ready to produce this milk. Right.
So is it like it triggers the hormones in your body, the response?
Yes. Now, this may not be for everyone, but for most women, it starts to trigger the hormones, right? And so you start to see this production, and it's getting ready for childbirth. It's like what would happen in any woman that's starting to approach the child rearing age, except for in sexually abused people, it's like, oh wait, I thought we were younger. Oh, but no, this is happening. We must be older. We must have got it mixed up, right? And so things start to happen a little faster sometimes.
So that's the sexual part of you, but the brain part of you is still young. But the sexual part of you, so you just divide it into different sections.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
And so then you have these cravings. That's why you see a lot of sexual acting out, hypersexuality, right? Because you have these cravings. Now, this is, again, I want to preface, this is not for everyone, right? This is for a lot of people, though, I would say, but not for everyone. So you have these sexual cravings of this adult, but you're mentally not even 12. If you from the example that I'm giving you. So you're mentally not even 12. You're like 4 to 6, because sometimes in many cases the brain regresses because it's so traumatized. It regresses to a childlike state even younger. So here I have this mental ability of a 6-year-old, 4 to 6-year-old. I have these cravings of a 18-year-old. So then you see this hypersexuality, masturbation, sexually acting out on other children, all types of inappropriate behavior. And because our nation, our world is not prepared for a hypersexual child, we start to label them, especially if they're Black. She's fast. She's a little whore. You know the names that you call, right? Oh, look at how she's built. She's too much. She's grown. Think about what happened with the R. Kelly situation years ago when that tape leaked. She knew what she was doing. She was a minor. She was a child. Just because she appeared to have enjoyed that act does not make it right. Sexual acts are supposed to be enjoyable to the body. That doesn't mean that wasn't abused. You know?
Right. They got that cross, because if you're in the midst of sexual, your body reacts to it in that main. But as soon as it's over, you're back to where you was at, square one, right? And the shame and all that kicks in after you finish.
That's like what Tyler Perry said about his experience of being molested as a child. He said he kept saying on the Oprah show, "My body betrayed me once again. It kept betraying me. Like he didn't want to, but it felt good." You know what I mean?
And just to add another layer to that, I had a uniqueness about what happened with me. My first abuser was a female. So in that caused a whole nother layer of identity issues. So with me, because it was so brutal, I digressed from ever really desiring intimacy in that way. So, which is dysfunctional still. So I'm going through that puberty stage of, okay, now things are supposed to be happening, but I don't want anything to happen. And that wasn't normal, because now that means I'm not developing. Like she said, you get stuck. I just got stuck in a different place. So now I'm stuck with identity. I'm stuck with what sex and intimacy should be. And it was just a major flaw in my string of story. So, so even with that, because then you still, at some point, you now have to you have a relationship, and so I had a relationship with men, and so now I had to be willing to be open to let the guard down, and so that was a challenge. So it created a whole box of issues, and
it can really impede natural development, like you said. And this is my wheelhouse, so I am so sorry for when I interrupted, because I just get so excited about it. One of the things that you brought up, so the bell curve, right? The normal bell curve. So most people fall under the part of the bell curve, the majority of the bell curve of hypersexuality, but you do have outliers, and the outliers are those who don't want any intimacy, right? They don't want anyone touching them. They don't want any intimacy whatsoever, because, like you said, it was so it was made to be so perverse. It was just not supposed to happen.
Right. I had one of my guests that was on my show a couple of weeks ago, Kimberly, and she was telling us about her trauma, and she had a uncle that molested her, and she said, you know what was really funny? When he left the house, I actually missed him. I actually missed him, because she said, I know what was going on was wrong, but nobody else loved me, and nobody never showed me any affection, because she was abandoned by her mother. And so this person was the only one that showed her, and we know it was warped, but it was affection, and she was craving being loved. So she's like, I know it was wrong, but it felt so good and right. But when he left, I felt like, oh my gosh, where I'm gonna get love from now? Who's gonna be the person?
Abandoned. She probably felt abandonment.
That really hit me. Because I said, a lot of people who's been molested, I never heard someone even describe it that way, because it seemed like to me, you would be scared to say that, because they would be like, oh, I feel like I'm weird or something's wrong with me. If I've been molested and I tell you I like it, something's wrong.
And then you start for love in all the wrong places.
Right. Exactly.
Definitely.
Exactly.
But that's the natural part of trauma, though. Like when she said, I knew it was wrong, that what was happening to her was wrong. But craving attention and love, that's natural. What was wrong was that the perpetrator perversed that. They took advantage of our natural desire as a child to want to be loved by an adult. It wasn't wrong that she craved him. That was nothing wrong with that. He perverted that. All children want adult attention. All children want someone to say good job, to hold them, to hug them. All children want that. So her craving for that was not wrong. He was wrong, or she was wrong for perverting that
into something that was sexual, and it wasn't.
Exactly. And that narrative had to change. See, trauma has changed over the years. Our understanding of trauma, the definition of trauma, because it was so small. Even therapy, we had to learn differently. Like what I just told you is new. Being able to say, when I say new, I don't mean like last year or so. I'm saying new, last 15 years, that we were able to say, no, you're not wrong for craving your uncle's attention. Your uncle was wrong for perverting that. That's all natural. That's natural. He conditioned her to have that sexual craving, so that you're not wrong. Now you have to unlearn that, but you're not wrong. She wasn't wrong. That's new. And so a lot of our clients come into my office and have guilt for having orgasms during being molested, and have guilt for all of those types of things. And it's like, no, your body responded in a natural manner. There was nothing wrong with you. You're not broken. That person was broken. That person was wrong.
Yes.
Right. So when you get to, like, when Dee Marie was saying that, well, you kind of said, well, she said her story, but what you said on top of that was, you kind of feel weird, you feel like nasty about it, but then you feel like, well, if I say something, then I'm getting in trouble. And then you say, well, I got to do something, and then I just self-medicate myself, and I'll do it this way. It's kind of like, until you tell your truth, it won't do anything. Like, it's not going to go nowhere.
Oh, leave me alone.
You got to say your truth. And even though that seems like the hardest thing, but this is like, that's why I love doing shows like this, because there's a lot of us out here who've been affected and never told anyone. Been in this situation and didn't do what you did, Dee Marie, and got to that point where you were ready to be transparent. There's a lot of people walking around here, our age or older, who's been molested or touched or something. And you just want to get to a point that you get that help. Because believe it or not, it's doing something in your life. It's doing something.
Yeah.
Even though it's not directly, it could be indirectly, or your decision making, or your situation with men, or your situation. It's doing something,
You
right?
don't even know it. You don't even know it. You don't even
No,
know it because you've been
it
living with it.
affects. So, for example, so now I'm a mother and I'm a wife. So now, had I not gotten free from that, it would have affected my relationship with my children, my relationship with my husband, my relationships, period. Because I wouldn't know how to be in relationship, whether it's even just with a friend. It look. Freedom from this is necessary and it
Yes.
can be done. People just think that they just cannot. This is something I'll take to the grave. I'll never be able to open up about this. But freedom is in your tongue. Life and death is in your tongue.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking about it is in your tongue. It's delivering. Each time you can say that, as you know, as time goes on, you'll be able to say it where you don't have tears and you don't feel the pain and you're not reliving. You're really just giving your testimony and you're freeing someone else.
Yes.
Getting to that place is a process, but it can be done.
Yes.
Yeah, it can be. So let's talk about mental health. We basically talking about it now, but let's talk about mental health as a Black community. I know now it seems like to me it's more accepted. It's a little bit more normalized. We have a lot of celebrities that's talking about it now, and they advocates for it now, and they not scared to tell you that they have mental issues. So, Dr. Dawn, how do you feel about where our mental health in the Black community is going towards now in 2022?
So I'm glad you asked that question. That's such a good question, Miss Regina. I just love
Thank
you.
you.
I just remember what I wanted to say because Dee Marie, she has such, I just love how she talks. But she has such an
I told you y'all would do well.
I just love how she talks.
We must do this again.
Yes, I just love it. But she unpacked so much. She's one of those silent storms. Because she was starting to talk and she was just unpacking and unloading. It's like when I started talking, it's like pop, 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 pop. But when she started talking, it's all quiet and sweet. And then at the end, she's like, bang! You're like, whoa! She didn't gave it to you. She didn't give it to you. But one of the things you mentioned when you were talking that I wanted to point out, which is going to lead into what you brought up, Regina, is that part of what I do is break the barriers to treatment for our community, right? Because our population responds differently to mental health than other populations, right? And as well as trauma, right? And so breaking the barriers to treatment, and specifically for trauma, is what I specialize in. And I specialize in a model called the Trauma Recovery Center model. And that is crossing over and just unhinging some of these things that keep people of color, African Americans, Latinos, Hispanics, from coming through the door and actually seeking out treatment. And one of those things is what we call cross-cultural skills, right? Because it's not enough Black and brown people to treat all of us, right? So we have to teach people that genuinely, and when I say genuinely, I'm not talking about somebody just want to check. I'm not talking about somebody that's going to come in here and tell me how I feel about my experience and you don't know nothing about my experience. I'm talking about somebody that recognizes that I don't know anything about your experience. I am a different color. I have had privilege all of my life. I realize this, but I'm willing to learn on my own. You don't have to teach me. I'm not asking you to give me a book. I'm not going to sit across from you and tell me about your culture, but instead I'm going to do the research and take my time and get the information that I need so that I can properly treat you. That's what I specialize in. That is what I do. And so I think that we have made a lot of gains because of people like yourself, Regina, people like yourself, Dee Marie, people like yourself, that we come together and we're on these platforms and we're getting educated and we're talking about our stories, because I'm not just a therapist, but I'm a survivor of trauma. I have different traumas that I have survived over the course of my life, right? So, we bring our experience into our workplace, and then we talk about how God, Jesus Christ the righteous, healed us and how we got the training that we need. And we're here in our journeys. We haven't arrived. We're not the experts per se, right? But we are steady doing the work. So yes, I think we've made gains because of putting more people like us in those positions.
Yes, absolutely. I definitely say that. Say that.
The state of Georgia actually just passed a bill where your insurance will now cover mental health recovery. So as you know, And I personally think that it should be all states. And so hopefully all states will get on board with that, where you can go to the doctor just like you go for an annual checkup and it's covered, that you can go for a mental check and it's covered. It's not, kind of this side department. Let me see if we can approve and give you a referral for that. And so that's a step in the right direction, but we have so far to come. I mean, this is the month of May, which is mental health. And that's great, but we need to talk about mental health every month.
Yeah.
Because it is affecting us more so now than ever, between the pandemic, the price of gas, the war.
That do it right there.
The price of chicken wings. The price of chicken
wings.
Oh my God.
Oh, yeah.
Chicken wings is depressing.
Yeah. It's a
baby formula is not even.
I remember all like,
that's trauma.
You can't get your wings at a reasonable price. Come on,
that's trauma.
It's a serious situation.
Anything that triggers on you really quick that you can't catch up on, that's trauma. Like when you just wake up one morning and you went to sleep, gas was $3, you wake up it's $4.50, that's trauma.
Yeah, it is.
Exactly.
That's a good thing. Let me just get this in there.
They're seeing the long-term effect of the COVID has what's called anxiety, depression, elongated after the regular symptoms have died off. Those are the effects. It's so, Dr. Dawn, you have your work cut out because it's going to be so many people.
I will always have a job.
Yes.
I will always have a job, and I'm not happy to say that, but I will say that I love doing trauma work. I don't love the stories. But I love the healing. I love when someone walks into my office, a victim, and leave a survivor. Because that's two different things. I love that. I love it. I love the resilience. I love to sit there and getting into because I'm tough. I'm not called Dr. Dawn on the real for nothing, but trauma work requires that toughness, that accountability, because trauma can often cause, and again, I want to make it clear to our viewers and listeners, this is not everyone. Okay. I'm just saying that I'm telling you what I see in my office. I'm telling you what some of the research yields. But trauma can also bring with it sometimes a sense of entitlement for some of the survivors, because the world has been so sucky. You feel like somebody owe you, and somebody
something.
Yeah, somebody owe you something. And I know, because I lost both my parents at the age of 18. That was at that time they treated it as grief, but it was trauma. I had trauma symptoms, but we didn't know anything about that. You're talking about 1987, right? So it was treated as grief, but I had trauma responses. But again, there wasn't a whole lot out there about trauma responses at that time. And I felt like that. I had a sense of entitlement for a long time, like somebody somewhere owed me something because that shouldn't have happened to me, right? And so when you're doing trauma work, you got to break that sense of entitlement and be like, the only person that's going to give you anything is you. You got to work to heal. Ain't nobody going to hand you healing on a plate. You have to work.
Do your work, they say. Do your work.
So accountability is my thing, and I'm tough, and so I'm always going to have a job because I love what I do. I love what I do, and I love to see the results.
And when you said that about entitlement, I know a lot of people who are having issues, and I noticed they have that in common. They feel they're entitled, and people say, "Well, how would they feel entitled when they just they never had, or they're going through this? They should be more sympathetic of it because they know that they went through stuff." You would think total opposite, but they don't. They really
think about the story that Dee Marie had. Like, I was listening to her. Now listen, I hear stories all day, every day, but they still, I don't care how often I hear these stories, they still touch my heart, right? Every story is just so painful, right? But I'm listening to your story, right? And I'm like, 2 years old. She didn't ask for that. Nobody, no 2-year-old wants to experience that. So I can understand, Regina, how a 2-year-old later in life can be like, why did that have to happen to me? Somebody owed me. Now, I'm not saying that was your case, Dee Marie, but I'm just saying, like, I get that. I understand how someone can have that. And my job is to say, don't nobody owe you nothing. It's a shame that happened. And somebody may have owed you something when you were younger, but they're not here to give it to you. I certainly don't owe you anything, but I'm here to help you to get what you deserve, but you got to be the one that's going to get it. That's because that's just the way this world works.
And that exactly. That's why I'm learning.
Dr. Dawn, I had a question for you. We were talking about earlier about how the Black community now, people are coming around to mental health and talking about it more and being more open and things like that. I hear the word triggered a lot, and people throw that around. Can you explain and elaborate what that means, and if that actually is indicative of someone who knows their triggers, or is it just something that people are just saying to throw around just to say? Do they go and get help, or have they gotten the help? Have they done the work?
Word of the year is trigger.
Trigger.
Right. Yeah. I think it's a little bit of both. I think, I do think trigger is a buzzword for everybody, right?
Yeah.
But trigger in terms of in the trauma world, trigger is knowing our buttons, the buttons that may cause a response from our trauma past, right? And so, like, if you have a trauma history, there may have been something that your abuser has done in the past that caused a trigger, a trauma response, caused you to have memories or even a flashback of that particular traumatic experience, right? Okay. And so they cause a trauma response. So that is one idea of trigger. So let's say you had a sexual abuse situation, and you may be intimate with your partner, and he may rub your back a certain kind of way. That might trigger a memory or trigger a response, right? Now, that's one area. Now, there's also a type of thing called a trigger where, because of trauma. So when you're traumatized, I'm trying to keep this brief because I'm a little bit of an egghead when it comes to this. I'm a little bit of a nerd when it comes to this. So I'm gonna try to keep it real brief.
You're the expertise up here.
I know, right. This is my wheelhouse. I'm like, all right, calm down, sister, calm down, right? But when we're traumatized, the frontal lobe and the amygdala, they have a circular relationship, right? When we're traumatized, the frontal lobe and amygdala, that relationship gets a little disrupted. So the amygdala is responsible for our emotional responses. The frontal lobe is responsible for our judgment, problem solving, and decision-making skills, right? So when we're traumatized, our frontal lobe shuts down and says, amygdala, take over. And that's our emotions. And you start to make decisions out of our emotions. That's not a bad thing. We all go through that. It's our fight, flight, freeze emotion, right? A fight, flight, freeze response. We all have it. So if somebody started shooting in your neighborhood right now, frontal lobe shuts down and your amygdala takes over, right? And that's good. That helps us get out of situations quickly, et cetera, et cetera. But when we're traumatized, it takes longer for the frontal lobe to get back online. So that means it takes longer for us to start to make good decisions. And sometimes it takes a very long time for it to function properly. So you kind of stay in this fight, flight, freeze place all the time. So something simple as somebody saying the wrong thing to you may cause you to over respond as if you're in a threatening situation, because your body is saying, this reminds me of the trauma, but it isn't. It isn't the trauma. It's just a little similar. And the little similarity might be, he told me no, or he raised his voice, right? And it's just a little similar. It's apples and oranges, but your body, because we haven't done the work yet, we haven't done the healing yet, your body is like, it's a little similar, snap out. So that's a different type of trigger. Does that make sense? So you got those different triggers, right?
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. And I'm going to say, for a caller, we got a couple of comments we're going to read in a second. But what I want to say is, even in relationships, being in relationships with man and woman, a lot of times we need to pay attention to that, because a lot of us don't heal into a lot of these relationships. We jump and jump and jump and jump. And then when they do something, like you said, it's got nothing to do with it. It just your issue. And then you blow it out of proportion, and this person's like, what in the world is happening here? I just said so-and-so, and you're like, no, because what you meant was like, no, I meant what I just said.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? It's like, why are you taking it there? And then that's where we got these issues with relationships, because a lot of us is not healed, and we got a lot of these, call it the trigger, a lot of triggers, because we haven't been healed. So even in your relationships with your spouse or your significant others, your friendships, there's triggers there too. It goes all over the place. Colin, go ahead and get some of the comments in. We'll come right back with
sure. Dana Davis says, hello everyone, thanks for sharing. Oops, did it show up? Okay, there you go. All right. And hello, Dana. Welcome.
Hi, Dana. Welcome to the show, Dana.
Hi, Dana. I know her. Hi, Dana.
She says that's deep. When you were talking earlier, she commented about what was the part that she was talking about, Gina?
The part about the way that the body is, the 12-year-old to the 18-year-old.
Yes. And in agreement once again, Dana says, Amen.
Amen.
Yeah. And then how do you cope with those triggers is the question.
We'll come right back to that.
Okay. You want me to come back to that, right?
Oh, no, we got another comment, I think, Carla.
Okay. Yes. And yes, another trigger, informative explanation of trigger, Dr. Dawn. Yep.
Thank you, Sage. I know her too.
Okay, good. Okay. Well, go ahead. You want to answer that? And then we'll get Dee Marie to talk about how she feels about how she healed her triggers.
So how do you cope? You want me to answer how do you cope? Okay. Yes, honestly, Dana, therapy helps to cope with the triggers. Being journaling. So what I tell people outside of therapy, until you can get to a therapist, what I say is you have to journal, because a lot of times you need to release a lot of those emotions, and then learning how to sit with uncomfortable feelings, because our triggers, what happens with the triggers is our body is saying, hey, this looks familiar. We're not going to put up with this anymore. You're either going to fight or freeze. Right. And so we have to learn how to sit with that and not react with that, right? And do something different, so like if you're somebody that freeze, your coping skill would be something alternate to the freeze, maybe a way to healthy communicate so that you're not stuffing, because people that tend to freeze, they stuff. And so they stuff and they release it in other ways, whether it's shopping or eating or something like that. So the freeze person may come up with the alternate behavior, such as journaling, or maybe communicating to the person, hey, I'm frustrated, right? If you're a fight or flight, then you want to figure out other ways to manage that behavior, whether instead of snapping out, yelling or screaming, again, journaling, or figuring out how to communicate effectively in that situation instead of snapping out. So I would recommend journaling. Believe it or not, 20 minutes a day of meditation could heal those areas of the brains that I was telling you about. 20 minutes a day of meditation. You can get meditation anywhere for free now for 20 minutes. And it doesn't have to be 20 straight minutes. I personally do 20 straight minutes a day, but you can break it up to 4 or 5 minutes a day. But that actually has, and this is research, actually has been found beneficial to heal those areas so that those responses, those triggers are not as strong or reactive. We don't feel as reactive as we used to be. So I would say journaling, meditation, and exercise. 30 to 40 minutes of exercise per day really helps with those areas.
Yeah.
So those are the 3 things that I would recommend.
I always feel better when I work out. I do. It's like I can be stressed out, and then I'll just go for a walk for 40 minutes or something like that, and then I feel like better.
Yeah. It releases good hormones.
Hormones release.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Dee Marie, let's talk about what your triggers were and how did you heal your triggers?
So I had so many triggers. It was, there were trigger words, and there were trigger actions, and there were triggers, environments that would just kind of get me in a place where I had to pull back. But as time went on and I learned what all those triggers were and how to cope with them, I started with writing. I started with journaling. I started with poetry, and now, as you guys see, I've written a bunch of books. It really, really works. And in that, though, there's freeing, because as you're writing those words and you're thinking about what happened, and it's freeing. It's freeing. You're releasing. It's a releasing. My other coping is physical movement, and so I love to go out and take a nature walk. I've been doing that for 15 years now. It's the best thing ever. When it just gets overwhelming, I pause. It's okay to pause, y'all. It's okay to pause. I pause and I go out and I get some fresh air and I just walk. I play some music, or I just talk to God, or I just listen to God, or I just listen to the sounds around me and just take in fresh air and let it out. Breathing is a thing. If you don't believe me, try not doing it. So
see how that work out for you.
See how that works out for you. Not so well, but it has been the best thing ever. I recommend it to all who will just at least start somewhere. Start where you are. To do something for yourself. That's part of your self-care. It's very important. I've been shouting this to the roof. Self-care is a thing. You should do it. You should take time. You're important. You're worth it. Invest in yourself. Invest in your healing. That's a part of your life.
Yeah, it is. It definitely is. So,
Absolutely.
I didn't realize I was dealing with trauma myself until I did get the help and did my work with my adoption. I didn't even think it even affected me. I didn't understand why I was doing the things I was doing, why I had validation issues and low self-esteem, why I was a people pleaser. I
Right.
didn't realize that because I was hiding that from everyone. And when you hide from people, you're telling people you don't love yourself, right? Or you're telling yourself you don't love yourself. And when you do that, you let anything happen to you. You let things happen because you don't care, you know? So I didn't realize that that stuff was related to me doing the things I was doing. And that's a form of a kind of trauma because you're putting yourself through stuff, And I didn't realize, I was like, well, how can it be trauma? Because see, when you hear the word trauma,
Yes.
I think of
Yep.
wars
Domestic
and
violence, physical, sexual abuse.
wars
Yeah.
and right.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't
Mhm.
think of
Car
like my
accident.
situation is a trauma situation.
But that was how the definition was, Regina. Over the years, we've expanded it because we started to see trauma responses in people
Mhm.
such as that lost their parents or someone who was adopted, and we realized, hey, trauma's bigger than that little definition that we used to have.
Mhm.
Right, it's way bigger because I didn't realize that if it's something missing, there's a void. A void is a void is a void. Even though you've been raised with beautiful family, and even though you had great friends, and
Yeah.
everything you did is great, but you still have that void, and it doesn't replace it. You can't just substitute one thing out of the other. It's two different entities. You could
Yeah.
be happy here, but still have a void over here, and you still react
Right.
to that void.
Right.
And that's
Right.
what I was doing. I was reacting to that void, and and I'll be honest, I'll be transparent. When I was dating before, guys would say some of the similar things about like, oh, you like, you don't like staying by yourself and you don't like doing things. It's like I always had some kind of thing like I wanted to be with them, you know what I'm saying? Or I wanted not to stay in my house by myself. I didn't want to spend a night in my house by myself. I wanted somebody
Yeah.
always be there. Like I never realized all that stuff was contributing to how I was
Yeah.
because of that void, because I felt abandoned and I didn't know I did. So
Wow.
it's weird. It's really weird.
Wow. Wow.
So let's talk about overcoming. So we get to this point, we now overcome. What we do to continue I guess because the process just never ends, do it? Do it ever ends?
It's a journey. I would say it's a journey, and I think Dee Marie might agree. It's a journey because I do have clients who come to my treatment because I do empirically evidence based therapy, right? And so I do have clients that come and their trauma symptoms literally go away. I have clients, but most of my clients come and they get to a place where they manage the trauma symptoms, meaning that the trauma symptoms no longer identify them. That's just a very small part of who they are. Because I have clients that come in and they are identified by their trauma. Like their trauma is their life. That's who they are, and they leave with the trauma just being a small part of who they are. It's no longer their identifying factor, right? But it's a journey. It's always being aware of things, of being aware of who you are, being aware of how the trauma impacted you in the past, just in case it rears its ugly head. It's just like, like it's like diet, nutrition, and exercise. If you have a weight goal, you got to eat healthy. You got to continue to eat healthy. You just can't go back to crimpets and tasty cakes and Philly soft pretzels. I mean, you can, but you already know the scale gonna go up. You already know your blood pressure gonna go up, right? So it's a lifestyle. It's one of those things where you have to be fully aware of who you are and what it looked like, and be mindful of your triggers, right? What your
Right.
triggers were, and also knowing your bandwidth. I think as Black women, we in many ways have been taught to be all things to all people at all times,
Yeah.
and I think that there's been so many stereotypes placed on us a lot of times that we unconsciously strive to prove that we are not a lot of things. I think it's important to know our bandwidth and know our worth is outside of accomplishments. I'm not going to hold you. I ain't mad at nobody that wants to accomplish. I love accomplishing, but knowing that our worth and value is not in that, and so like our worth and just like our worth and value wasn't in what happened to us, our worth and value is not in constantly proving and striving to show that we're more than our trauma. You're more than that anyway, right? So I think that's part of staying in the overcoming place, understanding that you're valuable just because you are. What has happened to you doesn't define you.
No, it doesn't. So I would like to tell my audience now, like I say this a lot, and I really, really mean this. These people that come on my show, don't first of all have to do this, okay? They doing it out the grace of God, and they just the passion and they love of what they do. You have people up here that are charging for these services, and they're actually telling you things for free on the show, and I don't take that for granted whatsoever. If y'all have any questions or any concerns, or you want to get in contact with these people to do work outside of here, please comment. Let us know. This show is for you. I'm learning just like you are. College learning just like you are. We are blessed to be able to be these shows. We looking forward to them because we're gonna learn something today. Because we got new people that's telling us this great information. So if you're listening, if you are at a point in your life that you need help, you don't have to tell us everything, but just comment or, say, hey, I want your information. Just say something, because don't let this opportunity go by. And there's something tugging at you. That something's bothering you, and you have the means to get it fixed. Right. Take the steps to do it. Just don't do what you always do and just overlook it. Don't just do what you do and click off. Take advantage of this opportunity and reach out to these ladies, because they are here to help. They're here to help, and they give you so many nuggets right now. They know what they're talking about, so you don't have to put that. So you can't say, "Well, I don't know." They don't know. They know. You already know that part. But now you need to go ahead and take advantage of this. And we got the information scrolling on the bottom of the screen. Please look them up on social media if you're a little shy, but we would love to hear from you. So please comment.
And they got a couple comments coming in.
Yeah, they're coming in. So let's talk to us. Let us know. We're here for you. We want you to talk with us. Let's make this a good conversation. So I just want to throw that in there. So we all had talked about faith. Faith is a big part of all of our lives. And we all mentioned faith in this conversation. So how important is faith in dealing with trauma?
Listen here. I'm gonna let D. Marie start, because I hogged up that last question. You go, D. Marie.
Yeah, I could. It could be a whole nother show on that.
A whole nother show.
Well, we're gonna do a part 2. That y'all
She knows she wrong throwing that in at the end.
Look, you can't say no. We live.
You play too much.
Absolutely. Listen, at the beginning of the day, you've got to get yourself in a place where you command your day, and there is no way to command your day to be great and to be amazing or to be productive without having a faith that surpasses your understanding. Because here's the thing, your checkbook may not be what you want it to be. The kids may not line up the way you want them to line up. The meeting yesterday didn't go according to your plans, and you've gotten some bad news or bad reports, and it's so many things that can just throw you off. So you have to make a decision. You have to decide each day that today I'm worthy. Today I'm full. Today I'm healthy. Today I am beautiful.
Yeah.
And today I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And yes, that doesn't mean things are going to happen in this new day, because every day we get a new day to begin again. Right. That just means that you've already commanded some things out there in the atmosphere that have already set up your foundation for your day. Yeah. So for example, if you wake up and you say, I just don't feel good, it's awful, guess what? You're going to be sick that day, and everything is just going to fall apart around you. Yep. But if you get up and you've already declared that I will be victorious in this day, I will have an amazing day, all the things that come at you, you got this boundary already that you've already put in the atmosphere that no, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that, my day will be great. So, and you cannot do that without faith. You cannot do that without God. I was healed by my faith. It wasn't by what I saw, because what I saw was different from what it was. And so you have to have that water walking faith, if anybody know anything about that. That's a little something on the side. You got to believe your understanding. Like, now this just don't look like what
I know. That's right. I love it.
But there is a God that's the beginning of the author and finisher of your faith. He's the Alpha and the Omega. He's your beginning and your end of each day. In each breath that you take, and you have to remind yourself of that. If you got to put sticky notes up in the air, if you got to pray, record a prayer and play it to yourself on the days that you can't even call out his name,
that's right.
You got to do whatever you got to do to get through Because here's the thing, you're worth it and you deserve it. And God absolutely loves you. And you can't do it without him.
Amen.
That's his
Amen.
name.
Amen.
That's his
Oh
name.
my goodness. Yeah, I'm
That's
telling you.
amazing.
That's amazing.
Now I
So
could go to church all day, y'all. Don't get
no,
me
but everything you said is absolutely true. You know, I want to ask my audience, like, are you tired of being sick and tired? Are you tired of just going around chasing your tail? Are you doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results? Or are you ready to do your work, go through the pain, but push through and get to the other side, and you'll be able to be in glory? Because I'm telling you, when I did my work, everything I've done in my life in the last 2 years, literally the professional organizer, the podcast, the talk show host, the motivational speaking, my journals, everything I just named to you was happened in the last 2 years because I did my work.
That's right.
Because when you know who you are and you stand in your purpose, it goes like your whole life, like, oh my gosh, like I'm awake. Okay, now I know what I want to do, and it just happened. It just flows easy and effortlessly.
Yes.
Flows when you're in your purpose. And a lot of us are walking through here not in our purpose because we got so much trauma and we got so much stuff that's holding us down. Trauma is like weights, it's like chains, and it's holding you down for living your purpose. That's how the devil works. He wants you to keep repeating your trauma. He wants you to keep repeating it because he wants you to stay in that, because he wants you to leave this world not knowing why you're here. He wants you to leave this world not knowing your purpose. And he's doing a great job with a lot of us. So we need to let go and let God and let go and do our work. And it's going to hurt. You know, we could sit, I ain't going to lie to you. You're going to have to face some stuff. But at the end of the day, will you rather face that and get it over with and live a better life, or you want to keep repeating your mistakes over and over again because you're scared? Fear will hold you back, because the devil nicely loves fear.
Yeah. Because with trauma brings with it avoidance and denial. You know, and you know, we can have avoidance and denial without traumatic experiences, but you know, with trauma comes avoidance and denial. And we have to be mindful that you can pretend all you want, but you're just going to dig yourself into a bigger and bigger hole. So it's, you know, we got to get beyond pretending and get beyond the avoidance and get beyond the denial to do that real work, because all you're going to do is stay stuck. The more we pretend and the more you know, I have so many people that pretending, you know, dress up, buy clothes, shopping, looking nice all the time, but you're pretending. Like, you know that you got this trauma, you know you got this stuff you got to deal with, you know you're hiding. It's in play. I mean, you ain't fooling nobody but yourself, because folk might not know what has happened to you, but people know something ain't right. And they, you know, and they may not know what ain't right, but they know something ain't right. You know, they just ain't saying nothing because half the time stuff ain't right with them.
Right with them. I was say, you better hit it, Dr. Dawn. You better hit it. Guess what? One of the major things I learned in my therapy. Guess what, y'all? Everyone got something.
Everybody.
I think that a lot of us think that we the only ones that everybody else is living love. You know, because like she said, Dr. Dawn said it perfectly. They are hiding behind clothes and jewelry and cars and men and women. They're hiding behind stuff because they're not ready to face their truth. Doesn't mean they got it together. Stop looking at people out externally, because I'm telling you, when you get awoke, when you're awake, you're gonna look at everybody and go, oh my gosh, I didn't know all y'all was crazy too. Y'all got something going on too.
Look at the celebrities.
That's me.
Life, and they're dealing with all kinds of traumas and hidden secrets that have been keeping them hostage and bound up. Look at that Olympic star. She said, listen, my mental health is first. I need to halt this situation. And that's actually kind of starting a lot of these conversations now, that the people that we look up to are now having the conversations.
Because a lot of people in the industry, they the ones like out there doing the work. They the ones out there doing these sports, right? Everybody's around them that's benefiting off of them and putting all these pressures on them, saying you got to hold it. None of y'all out here. I'm the one out here doing all this stuff, but y'all tell me what I'm gonna teach you something today. I ain't doing nothing. I'm about to go sit down because y'all not gonna drive me crazy.
I tell people all the time, you ain't got to be real with me, but be real with yourself though.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you ain't got to tell nobody, but you need to be real with yourself and get what you need.
That's right.
Get what you need, because there ain't no need in pretending. You know what I'm saying? Like, you ain't got to tell me. You ain't got to be transparent with me. And I'm talking about my personal life. You know, with my clients, I say, if you can't be real with your therapist, then I can't help you.
That's right.
There ain't no need in you coming here. I don't want your
money and time.
I don't want your dollar. I got a wait list that let up for 15 months. I don't need your dollar. I want people to come and sit across from me that want to do work. Okay. Because if you want to come here and not do the work, then you don't need to come. Because somebody else could be in that seat that's going to do the work. Now, I could be somebody else's therapist. I could be that therapist and be like, okay, how does that make you feel? And just scrunch my head up and let you go out the door. But I'm not going to waste your time like that because my time is valuable. We can never get time back, right?
That's right.
So if you don't come here, if you can't be real with me, then don't bother coming as your therapist. But I'm talking about people in my personal life. I tell people that all the time. You ain't got to be real with me. You ain't got to tell me what you're going through. But you need to be real with yourself at least. Because then you're stuck. You're not going to be a benefit in any of your relationships. You're not going to be a benefit to your own self. You're not even going to be a benefit in your job. You know how many people have really good jobs and end up leaving it because they can't even function at their optimal response because they're too busy pretending. And that's
draining.
It's very draining. It's exhausting. It's exhausting.
I know people that do that. It's mentally draining. They always tired and always doing other stuff because their brain is like, I'm tired. I gotta hide and lie all day long. That takes a lot on your brain, yo.
That makes me think of something super important. A few minutes, really quick. Balance. You know how we always talk about have balance things out. Look, here's the thing. Make sure you guys listen to this. Balance is according to your life. Your family and your children should not get have the same amount of time as your job. Your self-care should not be the same amount as your job. So the balance is the scale should be based on where they're placed. Here's the thing. How much time are you spending taking care of yourself, your mental health? Yeah. How much time are you spending taking care of your family, your children, your spouse, etc.? Put things in order, and that's the balance. Not everybody, all those things get the same amount of time. Yeah. So we had that kind of misconstrued. That's a whole nother show too, Dr.
Yeah, we're going to talk about another show. We are going to have to do another show because we almost running out of time, man.
But you got some comments that you want to.
Yeah, we got to do all that too. Yeah, we got to get that in. So what we're going to do is we're going to do the comments, and then I'm going to do my things I got to do in my closing, and then we'll go around the horn, and then we'll go ahead and end the show. So Paula, go ahead and
absolutely. Andrea Collins White says, "I love it." Hey, Andrea. She says, "I love it. What happened to you does not define you." Dana Davis says, "What happens to you does not define you" as well. She says,
that's a hashtag.
She also says, "Command your day." I like that.
Command your day.
Affirmations work.
They sure do. I do it every day.
Me too. Having a positive mindset can be calming. And praise Jesus.
Amen.
Amen.
Yes. Preach.
I like Dana.
Andrea Collins White, yes, preach.
Yes, Cookie, we miss you, girl.
Benediction, please, Dana.
I'm about to tell y'all in a minute.
That was when Dee Marie was talking. She said,
please. And she says, admit you wrong or faults and do the work.
Your work. Yeah. That's right.
That's right. Andrea Collins, hiding the trauma. Try to remove the masks behind the mask.
Yeah.
Dana Davis says, I was stuck and pretended for a long time. Thank God for Jesus and my big sister mentor. Building a good support system of people who accept you for who you are.
That's where you gotta start releasing some people out your life.
Anybody that want to criticize you for being transparent, they ain't your tribe.
Yeah,
they're not your tribe. You know.
Nope. Yeah. And she also says, this is good stuff. Thank you. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you. We hope you keep coming back. We appreciate you.
Hey, Andrea.
Hello. I miss my girl.
This is so good. I miss you too. Absolutely. Thank you.
So we'll go ahead and do a couple of things here. And I want to thank y'all again for being on this show because it's been amazing.
Yes, very eye-opening.
I know. I'm telling you, I learned a lot. So as we talking about traumas and doing your work and everything else, I would like to invite, if you're in the Atlanta area, I'm having my first conference. Bring Out Your Sons conference in Atlanta, GA. It's going to be July 9th from 12 to 3. If you're in the Atlanta area, please join us. I'll give you some information about the tickets. Actually, I got to put a link in here for the tickets. But if you're interested, please just contact me. Our email address is letstalk1943@gmail.com. Kyle, if you don't mind just putting
Sure.
our email up there or subscribe and just leave us a message and we'll be able to definitely get back to you. But it's going to be amazing. As you can see, one of the people up there is on the show tonight, Dee Marie. So if you like Dee Marie, you're going to get more of her at the conference, as well as Kimberly Bell. And she's an amazing speaker. Oh, she's just so, I think she just, God to sit her down, boy. She's something else. So I really enjoyed her. So if you in the area, please join us. It's going to be nice. Going to be nice. Next is our sponsorships. And like we had said, oh, there you go. So if you're interested in advertising your business on our show, it's only $15 an episode. We'll put your information just like this on the episode. We'll talk about your business as well as on our social media. So if you're interested in advertising your business, organization, events, anything on our Let's Talk platform, it's only $15, and you could do so by reaching out to us at the email address below. And finally, I got one more thing before I say finally. Okay, one more thing. Okay, so as Dr. Dawn was talking about using a journal to write out your thoughts, guess what I have? I have a journal.
Nice.
I have a journal called Ring Out Your Sponge. So it's actually a nice journal because it gives you the topics and titles to write under, because some people don't know how to write in a journal. It's a blank page, you don't know where to start. Well, this book actually gives you where to start. It asks you questions about how you feel about yourself, where you at in life. You know, it gives you a whole roadmap of how to write in a journal. And so it's on Amazon.com. It's called Ring Out Your Sponge under Regina Smithwick. If you're interested, you go on Amazon, you can purchase the book. Carla had, and actually Dee Marie was a speaker again, and they did the book, and they both said it was good because they was able to write out their feelings, and then so I recommend it. So like Dr. Dawn say, there's your first step, the journal.
The journal.
And lastly, I'm so proud to do this one. I'm ready today. Y'all got everything today. I'm ready for you today. Hold on 1 second. And Tuesday,
Dee Marie.
yeah,
Dee
Dee
Marie.
Monroe. On Tuesday, if you're in District 7 in DeKalb County, Georgia, outside of Atlanta, please, 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 you listen to this amazing woman today. This is what you get. She's like this all the time. I've known her for almost 20-something years. It ain't nothing different. What you got is what you get. What you get is what you got. So Dee Marie is running for commissioner for District 7 DeKalb County. She's an amazing woman. She's here for her county. She's been living in the county over 25 years. She knows the ins and outs of this county. She has been an entrepreneur in this county. She knows everything about DeKalb. So she will be the right woman to take care of the school systems, the parks, the youth. She does it all. So you want to say something real quick, Dee Marie?
Well, I'm excited to just offer myself as a public servant to our community. I think it's about community, no matter where we have our feet planted. Do something that impacts another life. If we all just reach out and touch one person on our right and our left, and we impact their lives, can you imagine what the world would be like? Well, that's what I'm attempting to do, is to really get people to gather together and come together and get the work done that's needed.
Yes.
So we want to invite, when we do part 2 of the show, I want to introduce her as Commissioner Dee Marie Monroe. So to make that work and make that dream happen, and we need to vote. So if you're in the District 7 of DeKalb County in Atlanta, Georgia area, please vote for Dee Marie Monroe.
Vote. It's very important.
Yes.
It's very important. Don't let this mid-election go by, y'all. A lot of people sleep on the mid-elections. The mid-elections, these are the ones that actually make decisions locally in your town and county. We always looking at the big one. That trickles down. But these people are actually going to write something. Like one day you can walk your dog on the left side of the street, next day you can't. That's how it's simple. I mean, these people make these decisions locally in your town. So please, please, please vote. So there we go. I got it in. Okay. All right, so we, like I said, we love you. Let's talk. I love you dearly. You know, it's been a year and a half since we've been doing this show, and we on our 29th episode today all together. So I do appreciate you. I want to go around the horn, and we'll start with our guest, D. Marie. You want to close out?
Yes, thank you guys so much for spending the evening with me, so that I can share my story, my heart, my passion, and what I'm trying to continuously do in the community. I'm grateful to Regina. Let's Talk has been amazing. It's been a blessing to the community. Listen, if we all just do our part, just do something that helps other people, and not think about ourselves, sometimes that takes away from the things that you might be dealing with, because you're like, I'm not focused on just myself. Let me go out there and see how I can make a difference. And so each one of us are doing that. And I'm just grateful. Dr. Don, thank you so much for dedicating your life to help save people, restore people, bring them up from the muck to the light, on the other side of trauma. And I'm grateful. Grateful for Regina, you and your team. Carla, you're amazing.
Oh, thank you.
Yes, she is. Yes, she is. So, Dr. Dawn?
D. Marie, thank you so much for sharing your story. I'm always honored when someone chooses to tell their story to me. That was a powerful story, so eloquently put. I said it 1,000 times. You could be a poet. I love your voice. It's a wonderful evening with all of you ladies. But I'm just so thankful for your story and sharing it with me. I am just more than blessed to have spent this time with you guys. It was so easy. It was such an easy evening. It just felt like sitting around a coffee table with my girls, and kind of busting it up with some side comments. Don't forget to look at the comments. Oh yeah, we got some comments. It was just a wonderful evening. I look forward to moving forward. I pray you win. D. Marie, and I'm going to be praying for you to win. I think you would make a complete blessing down there. I could just feel it. I can feel it. You have such a sweet spirit. Regina, you my girl. Like, I just feel like you've been busting it up forever.
I know. Every time we talk, right?
Every time, right? Met you from a podcast, and we just connected, and she really inspired me to make some moves in some other spaces and places.
Yes.
What I want to say to everyone listening, find your voice. When you, whatever, D. Marie found her voice. Regina found her voice. Find your voice. Tell your story, because your story is powerful. And that's what changes people, to see someone like D. Marie running for commissioner, be so transparent and talk about her story so beautifully. That is what is in the healing, not only for yourself, but for somebody else. For Regina to take this platform and change it and say she became awoke and did all that work after her eyes, the film came off her eyes. That is the power. Not only is she changing her life, but she's changing other lives. And bless me from our podcast. I told her, I said, things changed from that point on. That's what I mean about it being a journey, right? And Carla, I just met you today, but I understand that you are kind of like the glue. So thank you so much. Thank you. I'm just blessed. I'm blessed. Thank you very much.
It's a pleasure meeting you all. And thank you so much. You guys are just, every time we get guests on here, they elevate this platform. So you guys just came in and just lifted us even higher. So thank you so much.
Yes.
Thank you for sharing your stories. And I mean, I need to know more Dr. Dawns like you. My goodness. I need a therapist like you. You just so, it's just like, I got to sign up with this woman. I got to.
Thank you.
You're so direct and awesome and no nonsense. And we need that in our communities. We need more like you in our communities helping us out. So
thank you.
I appreciate you.
Thank you.
We do. And the thing about it is, I know a lot of people probably try to change your ways and say you're not following the norm of how therapists are supposed to be. So, but you're like, I'm going to be who I am. And there's always people, like, this show is not for everyone.
Yeah,
I pray on my show. I talk about God on my show. Some people, that's not their thing, and that's okay, because it's not supposed to be. It's supposed to be for the ones who it is. And you just stay in your lane and you do what God's telling you to do, and He's going to bring you the people that need to be in your life. You don't alter for them. you stay in your lane and people will come in your lane, right?
Right.
That's how that's supposed to
I
go.
always wanted to be more like DeMarie, like, but I'm just not. That's not who. I'm not built like that. I'm not like, I'm just not. But I love
you.
I know exactly, but I'm just saying, like, I always, I was always, but that's just not who I am, and
just to think,
that's okay.
I didn't become who I am because I was scared of who I really was. So look at that.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow. And I just learned to embrace who I am, and I love who I am. But I'm saying over the years, when you hear, oh, you're too direct, you're too down, I just wish I was more like, but girl, I love who I am. I embrace my directness. And once I started to embrace that on my journey, that's what really started to unfold for me. And then having people in my life like Sage and Dana and, people that love me for who I am. And then meeting people like Regina from the moment I met her, she was just like, yo, I like this. People like that in your life also helps because then like it's good. I'm good, So.
Yeah, so when I do my conference, I'm going to be doing one in the Philly area where around where you at. So that means you're going to be speaking at it, right?
You already know.
All right.
You already
know. Yeah, exactly. I'm going to actually be in Atlantic City. I'm going to be speaking at a festival, the BE Festival, Black Excellence Festival.
Oh, nice.
So, so I'll be in Atlantic City in Juneteenth weekend.
Oh, wow. Nice.
Yeah, so hopefully we can catch up. You're not too far from the area.
At all. I'm not far at all. Let me know and I'll try to coordinate it. Just got to make sure you don't have nothing on the calendar, but I'll try to coordinate it.
All right, we're going to talk. So thank y'all again, once again, my audience. Let's talk, fam. We love you. We glad you're here. We glad you stuck with us. I think we have, let me see, make sure we get all the comments in. Oh, thank you. Dana, I'll do it for you, Carla. She has said thank you. She said congrats on your 29th episode. Thank you so much. And we here on the 30th, 31st, 32nd. We hope that you stick around. We need people to spread the word of love and God, and we're here to help. So thank you so much. And until next time, y'all hold on. Don't hang up yet. All right. Till next time, and God bless. We'll see you next time.
Bye, everyone.